was supposed to be our dream house. After 5 years of saving, skipping vacations, and eating way too many instant noodles, my wife Emily and I finally bought a small piece of land on the edge of Willow Creek. Estates, one of those. Neighborhoods with big lawns, American flags, and shiny SUVs parked in every driveway. The best part? Our property wasn't technically inside the HOA boundary. We were close, right across the street, but far enough to be free from their endless rules about mailbox color and grass height. That was the whole reason we picked it. I remember telling Emily, "Honey, we'll have all the beauty of the neighborhood without the nightmare of the HOA." She smiled, brushing her hand across my cheek. "As long as we can have a garden and a porch swing, I'm happy." We broke ground in March. By late summer, our small modern farmhouse stood proud. White siding, black shutters, a big wooden door I'd stained myself. The kind of place that made you take a deep breath and think, "Yeah, this is home." But that peace didn't last long. It started the day we moved in. I was unloading boxes from the U-Haul when I heard a sharp voice behind me. "Excuse me? You can't park that truck on the street." I turned around to see a woman standing at the edge of the driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses perched perfectly on her head, wearing a pastel pink tracksuit. She looked like the kind of person who rehearsed complaints in the mirror before breakfast. "I'm sorry?" I said, confused. She pointed at the U-Haul. "That truck violates our community guidelines. Vehicles over 20 feet can't be left in front of houses overnight." I wiped the sweat off my forehead. Well, we're not part of the HOA. My house is outside the boundary." Her face froze for a second, like her brain had just crashed. Then she smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Oh, sweetheart, that's a common misunderstanding. All the homes on this street fall under Willow Creek HOA jurisdiction." I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my email, and showed her the survey map from the county records. I'd triple-checked this before buying. "See that line?" I pointed. "That's the boundary. We're on the county side, not the HOA's. Her smile dropped. "Well, that used to be true," she said. "But the HOA board voted to extend the boundary last year. So technically, you're in now." That's when Emily came out with a box in her hands. "Everything okay?" Karen, I didn't know her name yet, but I could smell it, turned toward Emily with a fake smile. "Just making sure you folks understand the rules around here. We have standards in Willow Creek." Emily set the box down gently. "We appreciate that, but we're not under your HOA." Karen tilted her head, clearly not used to people telling her no. "Oh, we'll see about that." Then she turned on her heel and marched off. I remember laughing it off. "Don't worry," I told Emily. "She'll get over it." I was wrong. 2 days later, we give a letter. Notice of violation, unapproved construction. It was stamped with the Willow Creek HOA seal. The letter claimed our house violated neighborhood design standards and demanded we submit architectural approval paperwork within 14 days or face daily fines. I was stunned. Emily was furious. "This is harassment," she said, slamming the letter onto the table. "We're not even in their jurisdiction." I called the HOA office immediately. After 10 minutes of being on hold, I got connected to none other than Karen Lawson, the HOA president. "Mr. Thompson," she said, voice dripping with condescension, "our maps show your lot as part of Willow Creek Estates." "With all due respect," I said, trying to stay calm, "your maps are wrong. I have county documents proving otherwise." There was a pause. Then she said, "Well, perhaps you should bring those documents to our next HOA board meeting. We'd be happy to review them." The tone in her voice made it clear this wasn't an invitation. It was a power play. Emily squeezed my hand. "Let's go. Let's end this." That Friday, we walked into the community center, a room full of folding chairs, bad coffee, and people who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Karen sat at the front of the room like a queen holding court. I handed her the file. "This is the county map certified by the land registry. My property is on parcel 19B, which is explicitly outside the HOA boundary." She glanced at it, then slid it aside. "Well, our association updated the map last year. We voted to include your parcel." "You can't just vote to include property you don't own," I said. "That's not how jurisdiction works." Murmurs filled the room. A man in the back whispered, "He's right. You can't do that." Karen ignored him. "We'll take your concerns under advisement," she said. tapping her pen like a judge announcing a sentence. I stared at her. "You're not listening." She smiled again, that cold, rehearsed smile. "Mr. Thompson, you'll find that cooperation goes a long way in Willow Creek. Defiance doesn't." That night, I barely slept. 2 mornings later, a bright orange notice was taped to my door. "Final warning, daily fines will commence." I stormed out into the yard, my blood boiling. And there she was, Karen, standing at the sidewalk with her little clipboard, writing something down. I walked up to her. "You've got a lot of nerve, you know that?" She didn't even flinch. "Just doing my duty. Rules are rules." "There are no rules for us," I said through clenched teeth. "We're not part of your HOA. She smiled again. "Then I suppose we'll let the county decide." And then she did something I'll never forget. She took a photo of me, right in my own yard, and said, "Smile for the record." That's when Emily ran out and grabbed my arm. "Tom, stop. She's not worth it." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. That night, I went online and started digging. County zoning maps, HOA filings, boundary changes. And that's when I found something strange. A document from 2 years ago showing a failed proposal to extend the HOA boundary. Failed. Denied. Not approved. Karen had lied. But the question was, how far was she willing to go to protect that lie? Sleep was impossible that night. The glow from my laptop lit up the kitchen as I stared at the county documents again and again. The more I read, the angrier I got. Karen hadn't just made a mistake. She had deliberately ignored a county decision. The next morning, Emily came down to find me still awake, coffee mug in hand. "Tom, you've been up all night," she said softly. "I found it," I said, pushing the screen toward her. The county denied the HOA's request to expand their boundary 2 years ago. Karen's pretending it passed. Emily frowned. "So what do we do now?" I smiled for the first time in days. "We expose her." That Monday, I called the county zoning office. After an hour of transfers and hold music, I finally got a man named Daniel on the line. He listened carefully as I explained everything. The false violation notices, the bogus fines, the harassment. "Yeah," he said slowly, "we've had a few complaints about Willow Creek's HOA overstepping their boundary." My heart raced. "So this isn't the first time?" "Nope," he said. "They've tried to enforce rules outside their area before. Send me copies of what you have. I'll take a look." I emailed him everything that night, the letters, the boundary maps, even a photo of Karen taking pictures in my yard. 2 days later, he called back. "Mr. Thompson, you're 100% right. Your property is not under Willow Creek's jurisdiction. They have no legal authority over you." I felt like shouting. "So what happens now?" He sighed. "That's where it gets tricky. Technically, we can issue a cease and desist to the HOA, but that takes time. In the meantime, keep all their communication. Don't pay any fines and don't sign anything." "Got it," I said. When I told Emily, she hugged me tight. Finally, some justice. But Karen wasn't done. 3 days later, we woke up to find our trash cans tipped over, garbage scattered across the driveway. At first, I thought raccoons, until I saw the HOA notice taped to the bin. "Refuse violation, improper disposal." Emily groaned. "She's losing her mind." "She's escalating," I said. And I was right. Over the next week, we got hit with one fake violation after another. Unapproved fence height, unsanctioned mailbox design, improper yard ornament placement. Every notice came signed, Karen Lawson, HOA president. It felt like psychological warfare. One afternoon, I saw her out front again, measuring the distance from our mailbox to the curb with a tape measure. I walked over. "Karen, what the hell do you think you're doing?" She didn't even look up. "Verifying compliance." "You've been told we're not part of your HOA," I snapped. She smiled, that same fake, satisfied smirk. "Oh, I'm sure the county will decide soon enough. In the meantime, I'm maintaining standards." Emily came outside, her voice shaking. "You're harassing us." Karen straightened up, clicked her pen, and said, "Harassment? I'm protecting property values, dear. Maybe if you cared about this community as much as we do." That's when I lost it. "You don't own this community. And you sure as hell don't own us." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Careful, Mr. Thompson. Anger doesn't look good in HOA minutes." I took a step back, realizing she had her phone out, recording. Emily pulled me away. Tom, don't give her what she wants. Karen smiled. That's what I thought. That night, I posted our story online. Photos, documents, everything, in a local Facebook group called Willow Creek Watch. Within an hour, the comments exploded. Karen did the same thing to us. She fined me $200 for leaving my bike outside. She once called animal control on my dog for barking one time. Apparently, everyone in Willow Creek had a Karen story. The next day, I got a message from someone named Mark, who said he used to serve on the HOA board. Hey, Tom. I left last year because of Karen. She's been lying about the boundary for ages. The vote never passed because the county rejected it. She forged the HOA minutes to make it look official. Forged HOA minutes. Now it was more than just harassment. It was fraud. I called Daniel again, the zoning officer, and told him everything. Forgery? He said, whistling softly. If that's true, this is serious. I'll loop in the county attorney. By now, Karen knew we were pushing back. That weekend, as Emily and I were planting flowers in the front yard, a police cruiser pulled up. 2 officers stepped out. Sir, we got a report about unauthorized construction on this property, one of them said. I blinked. What? We're just gardening. HOA complaint, the officer said, looking uncomfortable. They claim you're violating neighborhood code. Emily laughed bitterly. We're not part of their HOA, the officer sighed. We get that a lot here. Look, just keep it civil. We're not filing anything and just checking in. When they left, Emily looked at me. She called the cops on us. Over flowers. That was the breaking point. I called Mark again. You said you have proof she forged those minutes? He hesitated. Yeah, I kept a copy of the real meeting notes. The vote failed, 3-2 against the boundary expansion. But in Karen's version, she changed it to 5-0 in favor. Can you send that to me? He did. And when I compared them side by side, the evidence was crystal clear. Karen had literally fabricated the approval and submitted it to the county records office. I printed everything, her letters, the real and fake minutes, the zoning documents, and put them in a binder labeled the Karen file. Emily smiled as she saw me, holding it. You're really going after her, huh? I nodded. No more games. It's time someone stood up to her. The next HOA meeting was that Friday. I didn't ask for permission. I just walked in, binder in hand, while Karen was mid-sentence about upholding neighborhood standards. Her face froze when she saw me. Mr. Thompson, she said coldly, this meeting is for members only. Then why did you put a notice in my mailbox? I shot back. You can't have it both ways, Karen. Murmurs spread across the room. I have something the community deserves to see. I opened the binder and held up 2 documents. These are the real HOA meeting minutes from 2 years ago. And these, I said, holding up the others, are the forged ones Karen submitted. A man in the front row gasped. Someone whispered, Oh my God. Karen's face went pale. That's absurd. Those are fake. Funny, I said, because I got these from Mark, who was on your board. And I've already sent copies to the county attorney. The room went silent. For the first time, Karen didn't have a comeback. Her pen was still, her fake smile gone. I looked around the room. She's been threatening, fining, and harassing people under false authority. How many of you have gotten letters from her? Hands shot up everywhere. That's when I realized it wasn't just about my house anymore. Karen had been terrorizing an entire community. I turned back to her. You tried to bully us into compliance, Karen, but you picked the wrong house. And as I walked out, the room erupted, half in whispers, half in applause. That night, I got an email from Daniel at the county. We received your documents. We're opening a formal investigation into Willow Creek HOA and its president. You did the right thing. Emily read the email and smiled through tears. You did it, Tom. You actually did it. I hugged her tight. It's not over yet, but it's a start. Because deep down, I knew Karen wasn't the type to go down quietly. If you've ever stood up to someone who abuses power, you know that silence is never their final move. 2 days after that HOA meeting, I woke up to the sound of pounding on my front door. Emily stirred beside me. What time is it? 6:30, I said, rubbing my eyes. The knocking didn't stop. When I opened the door, there were 2 county inspectors standing on the porch. Morning, one said, holding up a clipboard. We've had reports that this property was built without proper permits. I laughed bitterly. Let me guess, the report came from the HOA? They exchanged a look. We can't disclose the complainant. But we do have to inspect. I stood aside and let them in. They checked everything, the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing. After 2 hours, one of them finally said, "Everything's up to code. Looks like someone wasted our time." I smiled tiredly. Welcome to Willow Creek. When they left, Emily leaned against the counter. She's not give. Up, is she? No, I said. But neither am I. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Daniel from the county office. Tom, just a heads up, we've launched the formal investigation into Willow Creek. HOA, the county attorney has all your documents. You might be contacted for a statement. I nodded, pacing. I'll tell them everything. He hesitated. And you should know, we've received multiple witness reports corroborating your story. You're not alone. That hit me harder than I expected. For months, it had felt like we were fighting this battle by ourselves. But now it was clear. Karen's little empire was starting to crack. Still, she wasn't done trying to scare us. The next evening, I came home to find a letter shoved under our door. New envelope, new HOA logo. Just one line written in messy, angry handwriting. You don't belong here. Emily's hand shook as she read it. Tom, this is getting dangerous. I nodded, scanning the street. Karen's silver Lexus sat in her driveway across the road, the blinds in her living room twitching. She wants to make us quit, I said. She wants us to move. But we're not leaving, Emily said fiercely. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about boundaries or rules anymore. It was about principle, about standing up to the kind of people who think they can control everyone around them through fear. A week later, I got the call. Mr. Thompson, the voice said. This is Laura Jenkins, county attorney. We'd like you to testify at the administrative hearing regarding Willow Creek HOA's conduct. I agreed immediately. When the day came, I walked into the county building with my binder, the Karen file, tucked under my arm. Emily was by my side, steady and calm. The hearing room was small but packed. A few reporters sat in the back taking notes. Karen was already there, sitting with her lawyer, hair perfect, pearls shining, face cold as ice. The moment our eyes met, she smiled. Mr. Thompson, she said under her breath, you really don't know when to quit. I smiled back. Neither do you. The proceedings began. The county attorney laid out the case, forged meeting minutes, illegal boundary claims, harassment of non-members. Then it was my turn. I opened the binder and walked through. Everything and from the first letter to the falsified documents. My voice shook at first, but the more I spoke, the steadier I got. At one point, the attorney asked, Mr. Thompson, what made you decide to fight back instead of just moving away? I looked right at Karen when I answered. Because I didn't want her to do this to anyone else. Because silence gives bullies power. There was a pause, the kind that fills the room with electricity. Then Karen's lawyer stood up. Objection, speculative. The attorney smiled. Withdrawn. I think we all get the point. When it was Karen's turn to speak, she launched into her performance. I've only ever tried to maintain order, she said, her voice tree. Just enough to seem human. Our community depends on structure. On people caring enough to follow the rules. Her lawyer handed her a tissue. She dabbed at dry eyes. I didn't mean to overstep, she said. If there was confusion about boundaries, it was an honest mistake. I couldn't stay quiet. You forged documents, Karen. That's not confusion. The judge wrapped his pen lightly. Mr. Thompson, please let her finish. Karen shot me a smug glance before continuing. I just wanted what was best for Willow Creek. When the judge called for a recess, I stepped outside to breathe. My hands were shaking, and not from fear, but from anger. Emily touched my arm. You did great. I nodded slowly. It's not over yet. 2 days later, the county released its decision. The HOA had no jurisdiction over our property. The forged minutes were deemed fraudulent. Karen Lawson was removed as HOA, president, and fined $15,000 for falsifying county records. When I read the verdict, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders, like I'd been holding my breath for months. Emily hugged me, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's finally over. But in truth, it wasn't just the end of a fight. It was the start of something bigger. Because as word spread, Dozens of neighbors came forward, people who'd been too afraid to challenge Karen. Mark, the former board member, organized a community meeting. This time it wasn't in the HOA's stuffy conference room. It was at the local park under an open sky. People brought their kids, their dogs, lawn chairs, casseroles. It felt like a neighborhood again, and not a battleground. When I got there, folks came up to thank me. "You stood up for all of us," one woman said. "We were scared to speak out." I smiled, embarrassed. "I just wanted peace." A man patted my shoulder. "Sometimes peace needs a little fight." A month later, we got a letter from the county. Not a warning this time, but a thank you. "Your persistence helped us uncover multiple cases of HOA overreach in the county. Your testimony set a precedent for homeowner rights." Emily framed it and hung it in the hallway. Every time I walk past it, I remember that feeling of being small, cornered, and afraid, and how easily people like Karen use fear as a weapon. But the truth is, fear only works if you let it. One sunny Saturday morning, I was sitting on the porch, coffee in hand, when I saw Karen's Lexus pull out of her driveway, packed to the brim. She didn't look my way, didn't wave. She just drove off, the for sale sign creaking in the wind behind her. Emily stepped outside. "Think she's gone for good?" I took a sip of coffee, smiling. "Let's hope so. But even if she isn't, she's not our problem anymore." We sat there for a while, just listening to the quiet. No threats, no letters, no Karen, just peace. A few weeks later, I posted an update online. Not to gloat, but to share what we learned. If you're dealing with an abusive HOA, don't give up. Document everything. Know your rights. And never let fear silence you. Sometimes the only way to make peace is to stand your ground. It blew up overnight. People from across the country messaged me. Stories of power-hungry HOA boards, petty fines, and intimidation. One guy wrote, "Man, you gave me the courage to fight back." Thank you. That meant more than any verdict ever could. A few months after that, Willow Creek looked different. The new HOA board, made up of actual decent human beings, reached out and apologized on behalf of the community. They even invited us to the annual block party. Emily laughed when the invitation came. "You think we should go?" "Sure," I said. "Why not? It's our neighborhood, too." When we got there, people smiled. Kids ran around with popsicles. Someone fired up a grill, and for the first time, nobody cared about lawn edges or mailbox colors. One of the new board members raised a glass and said, "Here's to second chances, and to neighbors who actually act like neighbors." Everyone cheered. Emily looked at me and said, "You know, I think we finally found home." And she was right. Because home isn't about fences, rules, or polished mailboxes. It's about belonging, about knowing that when someone tries to push you around, you don't have to take it. You can stand tall, you can fight back, and you can win. Never let anyone bully you into silence, whether it's an HOA, a boss, or a neighbor. Know your rights. Speak the truth. And remember, real community isn't built on control. It's built on courage.